guys, I'm Alex from Battersea Power Station in London, with the founder and perfumer of a young and very interesting to me British niche perfume house, born recently in 2021. I'm pleased today to interview ILIAS, who will tell us why and how, as a biologist, his interest for perfumery grew up on him and his main goals along his journey as a perfumer. We'll discuss also some insights about the niche perfume industry. So, if you are interested, please stay with me and let's go straight to the questions I prepared for him. ILIAS Kakis, thank you for coming here and giving me your precious time for this interview. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, thank you. I'm very excited because actually I find your brand, your concept very unique, very different. And one of the first things that I wanted to ask you is one of the most interesting things I found about ILYA is that you, as a biologist, suddenly felt the call of express the emotions you couldn't express through your scientific works.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So I was trained as so I'm a fully qualified research scientist by trade, I suppose, and I worked in the remits of microbiology, biology, immunology, toxicology. So, but I think my main research was on skin cancer, and that's what really sort of like set the foundation. Because, well, I was still am, but I was obsessed with like skin and skin biology, you know. And then I thought, you know, I still love science, don't get me wrong, but I felt working as a scientist, I felt really confined into a logical box, you know, into a box of logic.
Indeed, totally agree.
Yeah, so I was thinking, you know, this job is not for me anymore because it doesn't really give me the platform that I need to express my emotions. And at the same time as I was being trained to become a scientist, I was fortunate enough to work with some big brands and learn so many things about the world of perfumery. And I lacked the sort of artistic sense of the artistic direction of creating a perfume, and that is something that I built through many years of self-directed learning and speaking to big perfumers, you know, around the world. And in the end, I just brought those two worlds together, science and chemistry, with the art of perfumery, and created ILYA.
Lovely. And talking about emotions, I understand for what I could see through your website that you have at the moment two different collections, DNA and Velours. And DNA is born from an emotion that you as an alchemist were feeling, right?
That's right. So we've got two separate collections. The first one is the velvet. So anybody who knows me knows how obsessed I am with velvet as well. So I think. So
how should I say, velvet or le velours?
Oh, you can say velvet or le velours. Sam, le velours is in French, so you know it's absolutely fine. Okay. So. The velvets are all about personality, because when we're thinking of a fabric like velvet, I think there's no other fabric out there that really exudes such like a really like rich feel, and it's sort of, you know, it's a very regal fabric as well. You know, it's used in the crowns of royalty and really expensive suits. So yeah, when we're talking about velvet, we're thinking expensive, regal, and character, you know. And at the same time with the velvet, so black velvet and green velvet, which was the first fragrance that I created for ILYA, that I worked on for around 6 years on that formula, which is a crazy amount of time. 6 years. And I don't recommend it, no. I mean, it's too long for a perfume.
That's a lot of
work. For green velvet. So they all have the same sort of, if you like, character underneath them. So they are soft and very elegant and very refined, but they do have a very sort of like roughy sort of edge to it as well. It's almost like stroking a very expensive velvet fabric, like satin velvet, and you know, it's soft and a little bit rough at the same time. You know, it trickles your senses. So DNA is focused more on emotion. So these are fragrances that I designed, which are born from emotions and my sort of like personal feeling or memory that I felt at the time. And all of the formulas that I designed for the DNA collection are born from emotion and are designed to exude a particular emotion as well. So next I wanted to talk about another one of my creations, which is Santal Fatale. So I got the inspiration from a monument like no other in the world, and it's the great Taj Mahal of India. So this fragrance is all about love and celebration, as you'll see in a second. So it opens with a few notes of caramel, so very subtle notes of hazelnut, praline and caramel, which is contrasted with the freshness of Italian bergamot. And it's...
This is beautiful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think, without saying this to the older children, I mean, this is definitely one that's receiving a lot of attention lately. Yeah, it's a very sort of tender, like love. It's very warm. There is a luxurious and warm base of Indian sandalwood, vanilla. There is the jasmine in the middle. There's the rose. So the heliotrope. So there is, there is quite a lot going on in that fragrance. I would say it's very multi-dimensional, but it's very elegant and it's trans-dimensional, so almost, you know, if you know what I mean.
It is sweet, it is even gourmand.
It is gourmand,
but it's not an edible
yes.
gourmand. It's an elegant gourmand, which is different. It's so well balanced.
Thank you.
I adore it.
Thank you so much. Yes, and it's something that I resonate with quite deeply, because it's the story behind Santal Fatale that inspired me to create this fragrance. Of course, the great Shah Jahan was the king. He adored his wife Mumtaz Mahal so much, and you know, I think it was their love bore 14 children, I suppose. 14, okay. If I remember correctly. For so many inspirations and formulas, but I've used 4 different notes into this perfume, one for each child. And the name Fatale obviously comes probably from the femme fatale, you know, but even though this fragrance is for everyone, you know, and it's something that I hold very dear. Yeah, I love that story, very inspiring.
Beautiful. And tell me something about
Limitless X. Oh,
Limitless X.
It's Limitless X, so this is going to be interesting. So, Limitless X is probably my most daring creation, and there is a history behind the name, as with each one of them, of course. So I was working on a formula called Limitless, so the limitless state of mind, and I kept doing different variations until I think I ended up with 84 different variations, which was way too many, and in the end I had to pick one to launch. So
now I understand the name.
Yes, now you understand the name. So it's a very daring, it's a very intimate, it's a very sort of unapologetic fragrance, you know. And it's an overdose of pineapple, but it's not very sort of sweet and very sickly, you know. So, and that is contrasted against some smoky notes but leathery notes and very, very intimate animalic notes. So it creates this sort of like feeling of you know, of being limitless, but in a very particular way, I suppose. You know, and it's a very intimate. It's a very intimate.
It's interesting. It's quite interesting fragrance.
Yes, and the name came from the idea that the 10th creation, so I made number 1, number 2, all the way up to number 84 or 87. And after 3 months, because I have to let them mature, because fragrance will change over time. After 3 months, I smell them again and reevaluate the fragrances. And of course, it takes weeks to go through all of them again. And I just couldn't get over number 10. So I thought, well, I can't really call it limitless anymore because I kind of like swayed away from what I wanted to create. And I thought I need to come up with another name. So I thought, well, the 10th variation, being very sort of intimate, I don't like using the word sexy, but it is. It's a very sexy fragrance. But there we go. And I thought, maybe I can call it Limitless number 10. But then I thought, no, I don't really like that name. So in Latin, X stands for number 10. So number 10, so that was the 10th variation, and that's why I picked that. And I named it Limitless X. So if you say it quickly 3 times, you will know what this fragrance is all about.
Yes, so it's an X, it's not a 10.
It's an X, but it's number 10. It's both.
Okay.
And I also wanted to talk about Elude, which is a fragrance that I created during COVID. So this particular fragrance took me about just a little bit over a year to create, and it opens with a majestic citrus nebula before you dive down to a fantastic fountain of white cyclamens that's pouring out of lily of the valley nests, and there is a apple and pear constellation in there as well. So this fragrance is all about escapism, and this is why you know, I wanted to create a fragrance that really takes you to another, you know, dimension almost. So it really takes you to space and out of your house, sort of thing. So it's very like inspiring, and it's a fragrance that is all about feeling good in yourself and what you do. So it's again, it's a fragrance that you can wear all year round. There is no sort of limit to a fragrance, I would say, to the season that you'll be wearing Elude. And in the base, I used one of the most expensive musks out there in the market, just because I thought it would fit really well. So when I create my fragrances, I don't look at costs or anything. I just look at what ingredient will tell the story best. And it happened that this musk did, and I used it in this composition. So it is a stellar fragrance. It's a fragrance that sort of creates a lift, but it's not really citrusy. It's more fruity, I would say. So yeah, there's like an apple and pear constellation accord in there with hints of banana as well, and then you've got patchouli to resemble the darkness of space. Banana peels in the background. So you know when you leave like a banana outside to basically like mature, it's that type of scent without being too cloggy.
It's very nice, really.
Thank you so much. And that was Elude.
And could you tell me some story behind the Velvet or Velours Collection?
Yes.
Other than that you spent like 6 years for one formula. Can you tell me something else about this collection?
Yes, so let's start with Black Velvet. So Black Velvet is the perfume that I created using my Black Velvet suit, which I know I'm not wearing today, but yes.
I can smell it here.
Yeah, no worries at all. And it's a perfume that's sort of, it's the most precious perfume that I created for ILYA. It's a medley of precious oud with leather and musks. And you have a really nice 100% natural raspberry accord in it as well to create some contrast. Bergamot. It is a very, and you'll find this with Green Velvet as well, it's a very multi-dimensional fragrance. There is like a lot going on, but everything is brought together in a perfect balance, in a perfect harmony to tell the story of the skin effectively. So Black Velvet, for Black Velvet, my inspiration was the interior of a Bentley car. So you'll notice that it smells like a little bit leathery almost in the background.
It is.
Like
I was going to say, but I was afraid maybe my nose is not well.
No, your nose is perfectly fine. It's absolutely fine. But also smells like the inside of a very expensive Hermes bag, you know, of a woman's bag. So if you think about the lipstick, the makeup, the leather inside the bag, and that is what Black Velvet is all about. It's about the mystery, the elegance, And in my case, good luck, because yeah, I've always worn my black velvet suit, and you know, it's a symbol of good luck for me, which I know I'm not wearing today.
Okay.
But now, green velvet is a little bit different. So, you know, in terms of texture, it still resembles, it still has that characteristic velvet texture to it. But it's more so, you know, think about the great British countryside. It's a fougère gourmand type of fragrance with a very soft and elegant green accent. And I find quite interesting with green velvet, I find that basically, you know, green and gourmand is not really a combination that we see in a lot of fragrances, because there are two opposing families that you can't, you know, they can't be married. But I think that's why it took me so long as well for green velvet to just create that harmony and make it work. And I'm so glad it did. And it's a fragrance that I hold very dear as well. Yeah, all of them are for different reasons.
Of course, all of them. And about all of them, of course, means something for you. But I have a very difficult question for you.
Go for it.
And this, if you have to choose only one.
Only one?
All your fragrances, ILYA fragrances, which one would you pick and why?
Only one?
Please.
I mean, yeah, it is very difficult. I mean, they're like my children nowadays. It's like, I suppose. Oh, gosh, I suppose I would pick Heaven's Tide.
Where it is?
It's there it is. That's the one. It's the blue one. So yes.
I just guessed.
It's a fragrance that I designed after the Mediterranean. It's got a really sort of pronounced citrus opening.
So fresh.
Yes, very, very fresh. It's revitalizing, it's very invigorating. It's almost like being on a yacht somewhere in the Mediterranean. There are no people around you, you're just on this luxurious yacht, carefree clothes, and you're sunbathing under the sun.
I can tell.
You know, by the sea. So
I can imagine this.
You know, this is where this fragrance takes you. And the Mediterranean, for me, it holds a very special place into my heart, so that's why I decided to devote a fragrance to the Mediterranean and call it Heaven's Tide. So probably I would say Heaven's Tide, because it resonates with me on so many different levels. And yeah, I mean, I love all of them, but I would choose Heaven's Tide. Yes. Yeah.
Lovely. I'm highly interested in fragrances in general, right? But more particularly in exploring how the smells as an intangible and sometimes subconscious way affect our emotions and our energy. There are many scientific works proving this relationship, I think. And as you said before, your fragrances express your emotions, but also affect the emotions of the people wearing them, I guess. So, could you, as a scientist, explain me a bit more about this fascinating fact?
So there's this new field of science called aromatology, and what it does is that it explores the relationship between scents, how scents actually influence human behavior and emotions. Certain scents can actually stimulate the olfactory pathways, which in return the brain will release neurotransmitters that will affect the mental state of humans. And there's a very interesting research that happened with using jasmine scent, and that particular jasmine was a very clear non-indolic, I don't like using the word dirty, so non-indolic jasmine. That was a very clear and transparent jasmine. And individuals were exposed to this type of scent, and they figured out that compared to the individuals who haven't been exposed to this scent, they were more productive. So there are ways now, you know, particular,
so interesting,
very interesting, and there are ways that now companies, for example, could explore using jasmine scents to enhance the productivity of their staff in office spaces. Other examples include a combination, a secret combination between ethanol, peppermint as well as eucalyptus that made people feel a lot more motivated when they are doing a challenging task and yielding better results. And the same thing happened with using a blend of bergamot, peppermint, lavender, and sandalwood as well to individuals to basically, it made them feel more inspired and more sort of creative. And this is something that really took me by surprise when I noticed that, I mean, my fragrances are for everyone, but I noticed a particular trend with one of them, with green velvet in particular. It seemed that a lot of artists were preparing to sort of experience this scent and make it their own. And I'm talking artists from all sorts of backgrounds, from musicians to screenwriters to actors to painters to novelists. And I now know the reason why they were chosen this, because green velvet has got that combination in it, and it's something that occurred naturally because.
But you discovered this after.
I discovered this after I created green velvet,
so interesting.
which is which is really weird because science had to catch up. I mean, aromacology is a very young science. And then aromacology, yes, it's aroma and psychology, sort of into one word. So very different to aromatherapy. So, and it sort of like took me by surprise because I then knew why a lot of artists were drawn to that particular scent, because this particular combination of bergamot, lavender, sandalwood and peppermint is very inspiring and basically induces creativity. So even though my inspiration was the great British countryside with the green velvet, playing polo, wearing jackets and enjoying the countryside, in really lush clothing, and I was like, wow. So with Heaven's Tide, which is another fragrance where I experimented this combination, I used jasmine in the middle.
The chosen one.
Yes, yeah, that's the one. So I used jasmine in the middle with that combination of gardenia, with a gardenia chord. So it's a pure white floral heart with a very fresh opening of citruses and a woody musky base. So it's very carefree and elegant and luxurious. And it's a perfect scent, not just for summer, but during winter to remind us of the summer. So, and that's why Heaven's Tide is all about, and all of the fragrances that belong to DNA, they're all about emotion. So I use jasmine in there to sort of push the productivity of like thoughts, those like clean thoughts, and make you feel inspired and energetic is the key word here. So, yeah.
Now we're talking about aromacology. And I'm thinking also about what now they say sensorial marketing, because they some businesses use this aromacology or sensorial marketing to create certain emotions on their clients. It is related, right?
It's very related, and more and more businesses are reaching out to us and thinking, can we have a scent that
most of big businesses are using already these diffusers or through the ventilation systems, so they create these emotions on their clients.
And this is
to communicate with the clients.
To communicate with the clients without using any words, and that's the beauty. And the thing with aromacology and the thing with those combinations is that you don't have a choice. There is no conscious decision of whether you choose, unless you cover your nose, I suppose, or stop breathing. Once someone is exposed to that particular scent, they have no choice but to surrender themselves to the effect that these scents will actually induce. And that's the beauty of it, I suppose.
Beautiful. Indeed.
Yeah.
I believe, for what I could learn through your website, that your brand creates timeless and genderless fragrances, right? Actually, it's a trend to make unisex fragrances, as our culture is giving us more freedom to choose what we want to wear, regardless of our gender, age or situation, right? But in your opinion, there's any note or a chord which leans more masculine or more feminine?
I think the way that the industry is going at the moment, we can definitely see a trend into the gender barriers becoming smaller and smaller. And yes, you are right in saying that there are more unisex fragrances out there at the moment, which I think this is how it should be, because if you like a scent, wear it. So there are, however, some particular scent that may resonate with some people, but we have to remember as well that perfume is very subjective. I mean, from the dawn of the very first fougères, fougères were designed particularly for women. They were targeting women.
Okay, I thought it was the opposite.
No. Okay. So, and as fougères kept growing and their family, you know, kept growing and growing and growing, became this super massive family of perfumes. I mean, you only have to look at Green Velvet, for example, that's a fougère. And so that started to bridge the gaps between the genders, and now it's actually a very popular super family of fragrances among men. So yes, some people will say woody scents are more sort of geared towards men, and perhaps florals are more geared towards women, but you know, we have to remember that perfume is very subjective. And not only that, you know, if we take an example, let's take vanilla as an example, a timeless ingredient with so many different faces. You have so many different variations of vanilla, and you know, we can have a vanilla based fragrance that's geared, you know, that men may find more interesting and drawn to, and we can have another one that's geared more for women. So it's not really sort of clear cut whether there's like a particular accord that's just men or just female. I just think it's all about what the perfumer is trying to say with this particular scent, and whether people appreciate this art and whether they're drawn to it, which feeds back to the fact being that perfume is entirely subjective.
Completely, yes, absolutely. It's a fact that the environment is increasingly important in our society, and you know it as a biologist, as a scientist. Do you think that sustainability is affecting the perfume industry?
So absolutely, I think our industry, I mean, it's a marvellous one, but we have to take into consideration that the environment should and must concern all of us. And without a shadow of a doubt, the fragrance industry has had an impact on the environment. And this is something that I came across as well when I was approached by a dear friend of mine who's been a chemist for more than 25 years in Switzerland. And he bought raw ambergris and from southern France, and he prepared a tincture, and then he analysed his tincture to its individual components. So there is this particular scientific procedure that we can use, which is a combination of a couple of experiments that will break down, it could be a fragrance or even an essential oil, to its individual molecules. And he did that, and he found something very unusual to be present in ambergris. And it was two things. The first one being phthalic acid, which of course comes from plastic, and the second one was a particular musk, which is a synthetic musk. And you're thinking, well, where is that doing there? So
where is it coming from?
Where is it coming from, exactly? So he shared those results with me, and he said, Ilias, can I pick your brains on something? Because something is not adding up here. And I said, okay, no worries, I'm going to do my own research, see if I come up with something. A couple of weeks later, I figured out what must have happened with the plastic as a biologist, but I just couldn't make sense of the presence of that particular musk in ambergris. And I chanced upon an article that was published by a government, I can't remember which country it was, but it was looking at the pollution of a particular synthetic musk into our oceans and how it found its way in the waterways and therefore to the ocean. So, and I said, this must be it. We are polluting the environment with fragrance ingredients. I mean, this particular synthetic musk is very famous, and it's present in countless of perfumes. You know, don't get me wrong; it's a wonderful material. You know, as a perfumer, I can tell that there is no replacement for this particular musk. And I came back to him and I said, well, look, this is the explanation. And obviously we know that ambergris comes from Wales, it's the regurgitate of Wales, so it is a biological product, but we're not harming the whales in any way to harvest it. So, and I said to him, the poor whales must have guzzled so much plastic down in their diet in the oceans, because that is where phthalate acid is coming from, and that is why you found it in the ambergris. And the synthetic musk, obviously, it's again comes from us humans, because the synthetic musk found its way in the waterways and into the ocean. So I think it should be the responsibility of every industry to do its best to ensure being sustainable but also eco-conscious, and it should be the responsibility of all of us, because the environment is our home.
Yeah, indeed. And then changing the topic, there's any perfumer particularly special for you?
Well, there's a couple that I could mention here, and I'm just trying to go through the list, because the majority of my knowledge, so obviously I work as an independent perfumer, which means that I create for my personal brands, fragrances and body lotions more recently with a different personal brand that we've done. But also I create fragrances for other brands, and this is something that's really difficult to do. And in much case, you know, there are some people that say, oh, you know, why are you not focusing on your brand and make it big and, you know, take over the world and all those things. But I'm thinking it's actually much harder to create fragrances for other brands, other businesses and other individuals, because they are trusting you to, you know, they're putting the future of the company in your hands to create a winning and addictive fragrance. And I work really hard, whether it's, you know, I'm creating a fragrance for ILYA, for another brand, to, you know, meet their high expectations and bring those fragrances to fruition and into reality. You know, going from paper to fragrance is a very long journey. So although the majority of that journey has been through self-directed learning, there are some people out there that are perfumers, master perfumers, that I really look up to. And they are master perfumers that I think change the industry like no other. I mean, a couple of names, it has to be Sophia Grossman. She's absolutely amazing. I mean, her accord changed the world of perfumery forever, and that's something that is still being replicated in a you know, nice way, in an artistic way, in many different ways. And I come, you know, I smell new fragrances, and I come across new fragrances, and I smell them and I experience them, and I'm thinking, there is a little bit of Sophia Grossman DNA to this one, I can tell this. So, and I also look up to the works of Alberto Morillas. He's an amazing Alberto Morillas, yes, he's an amazing perfumer.
He's been here this week. Have you been with him?
Oh, nice.
He's been in Harrods and in Florida Mesa.
Yes, I was invited to the Harrods masterclass last year with him. So.
I saw you. I was there.
Were you?
Yes.
Oh goodness. He's such a charming gentleman, and he's really passionate about the art. He has
such a charisma.
Yes.
For me, he's like a poet. When he talks, it's like he's singing.
Yes.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, and you know, he's really passionate about the industry.
It's his life.
And you know, he's made countless of perfumes. And I remember I approached him and I said, "Oh, Alberto, you know, can you tell me a little bit more about how you use these particular musks in his head?" And he's like, he will share the knowledge, you know. Yes, absolutely. So I would say those two perfumers hold a very special place in my heart.
Good choice.
Yeah, thank you.
And tell me, can you tell me in 2 or 3 words, ILYA concept? I mean, what's the ILYA's message for its customers?
So I'm going to try and share something that's very personal to me, where the name comes from, and of course the concept that's depicted on the bottles and everything. So the name, so you know, most people sort of like when they see the name ILIAS and then ILYA, you know, it's a natural assumption that I named the brand after my name. But I spell my name a little bit different.
Okay.
So, and I had this memory in my head when I was looking for a name for my own company, and I had this sort of memory that resonated with me very deeply and on a very personal level. So I grew up in a Mediterranean paradise, right, and I was a person who had and still has quite big dreams.
Can you tell me exactly which place it was?
Rhodes, it's the island of the sun, so that's Rhodes in Greece,
okay.
yeah, or Rhodos.
Rhodes.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. And it has a long history.
Very long
history. It's beautiful.
History.
I'm an archaeologist, so
yes.
I studied the Greek
there you go.
archaeology, and Rhodes, of course, is
yes.
hot point.
Very hot point. It was considered to be the gateway to the Orient, so
yes.
lots and lots of history, and I just feel lucky in a way that I can call that place home, yes, you know.
Yes.
And I grew up in Rhodes, and as soon as I finished school, I went to an American school as well. So my parents had this idea to send me to an American school as well as a Greek school, so there we go. But then when I decided to become a scientist and train as a scientist, I realised what I was giving up only when I got to the airport, you know, with holding the hand of my mum on one hand and a suitcase on the other, you know, because that was probably the biggest adventure I've ever embarked on, you know, going literally deep into the unknown to chase my dreams and try and make them a reality, which, you know, coming now on the other side, I'm so grateful that I have made them a reality. So, and I remember that I was going through a very sort of hard time. I was very upset, you know, trying to give up on, you know, all those things, my family, my friends, my pets, you know, my cats, my dogs, the sun. So, you know, it was quite a lot, and I really sort of didn't realise it until the last point. And I was very upset, and I said, I'm not going on this plane. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to try and do something else. So both of my parents, they're jewellers, so they've always been into like jewellery. So I thought, you know, maybe I can just work in their company and stay here. But then there was this deep urge and push inside me that was telling me, you need to go. This is your dream, you know, go and make it happen. You know, so I was stuck between the devil and the deep blue sea, shall we say. And I was very upset, I was very emotional. I remember my mum reaching out to me, and she put her hand on my cheek and she said, I know things are going to get hard, but remember when they do get hard, just remember that I love you always. And this is where the name comes from. So ILYA, ILYA, is the initials of my mum's words. I love you always.
Beautiful.
So I'm going to try not to cry. But yeah, it's something that I hold very dear. So when I was looking for a name for my company, I thought, this is the one. It has to be ILYA, and it's I love you always.
Lovely.
So I am also drawn to anything ancient Greek or Egyptian. And when I was looking to basically take the brand into the next level in my statement, because yeah, I mean, my brand is my statement. It's like leaving your mark in this world. And I was blown away by the history and the background of a particular Egyptian queen, which is Queen Nefertiti. And that is the inspiration behind the cap, because it's her crown.
Nefertiti is the one who has the head with this shape.
That's right. Yes. So, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's actually her image, her crown is, I think, the most copied archaeological artifact on it somewhere. It's very, replicated, and I just drew inspiration from this. I said, I'm very drawn to that as well, but I particularly loved the fact, the history behind Nefertiti and what she did. She was without a doubt one of the strongest women that ever set foot on this planet. Her wealth, her power, her abundance was like, unmatched. Even in today's world, you know, there are people that consider themselves, you know, quite abundant and rich, and in front of Queen Nefertiti, they are nothing. So, and I thought I need to devote this inspiration to my brand, and this is where the inspiration came. It took me 9 months to conceptualize the cap, you know, from paper to the first sort of 3D samples to the first proper bespoke caps, and each perfume has got a particular coloured crystal that captures the colour of the scent. So, and that is why, and obviously we've got ILYA engraved on the top, forever looking at the sky where inspirations and dreams come from, I suppose.
ILIAS, any new project or any new creation at ILYA, or I don't know, something you are working on that you want to share with us?
I am working on a new formula for ILYA, but when it comes to ILYA in particular, I don't have a time limit, or I don't have a sort of barrier when it comes to costs or anything like that. I will just create what needs to be created, and what I feel it's right to bring to life in the form of perfume. So, and I am working on a new formula, which I know we briefly touched off camera, so I can't reveal too much.
I want to talk about
yeah. So I am almost...
Because it touched my heart. It's very close to my life also.
Yes, so, and it became part of mine as well, and it moved me to tears, and I was just blown away when I visited that particular place and saw and felt the works of a particular artist.
I understand,
and I'm still sort of like there at the moment, but not quite there, if you know what I mean. It's almost ready, but I've been working it for 1.5 years now. I was hoping to launch it this year. I don't know if that's going to happen, but one particular tip, I suppose, a golden tip that was given to me from a master perfumer was learn when to stop when you're creating a perfume, because perfumery is an endless art. You can make so many variations. I mean, just by having 40 ingredients in your lab, the possible combinations of using those ingredients is 40 to the power of 40. We're talking about a massive number.
That's so interesting. Know when to stop. It's so
know when to stop. And you know, when I say that I think this is what separates a perfumer from a master perfumer, is knowing when to stop, and when the fragrance is finely tuned and tells exactly the story that needs to be told. And sometimes it can be very sort of like intriguing to say, oh, what if I try this? What if I try that? You know, and then the universe just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding, and in the end you're lost. So, you know, you have to know when to stop in perfume creation.
Very important.
So I'm still exploring different concepts with this particular scent, with this particular formula. I can confirm that, and you're the first person that I'm confirming this, so I can confirm that it will be part of the DNA collection, because it's all about emotion, and I can't wait to bring it to life and share it with the world.
Me either. Thank you. And tell me, as the house's founder, do you have a vision for the next 5 years?
Yes, I mean, I'd like to grow the brand a little bit more and be present in more exclusive boutiques, and we have now got a distributor that we work with in Italy, and I'm just and we have got a boutique concession as well in New York for ILYA, which is amazing. Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you. And it's something that I want to you know, work on quite hard, but I feel like, because you know, I work for the other brands as well, I create for them, I just don't have the time to focus on my own, which, you know, it's fine, because I love it. I just love converting people's ideas, feelings, emotions, inspirations to fragrance, and then, you know, sharing that with them to make their dreams come true and make their products successful and bring their stories to life. You know, it's just amazing. It's like, I feel like an independent perfumer that does this, it's almost like the haute couture of the fragrance world. People come to you with an idea and you create them a one-off bespoke fragrance.
Yeah, you're an actual passionate. Thank you. Okay, ILIAS KAKIS, thank you for your time, for coming here. Thank you for making this afternoon so worth it to me. It was a real pleasure to have you here and to learn from your particular point of view about the perfume industry, the perfume world. And I wish you the best. I wish you all great things for your new projects.
Thank you kindly.
And thank you so much again.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.